This week's Filmmakers Podcast is brought to you by Massive, the fastest way to send and receive massive film and video files. Send uncompressed dailies, locked pictures, DCPs and more with Massive. Spelt M-A-S-V. Keep listening to hear how you can receive 100 gigabytes for free towards your next transfer. Massive.
The Podfix Network.
Hello and welcome to episode 261 of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk
podcasting,
not filmmaking, from indie films to studio films and
much more.
Everything in between. How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to
do it wrong. In
our very, very humble opinion. I am Giles Alderson. With me today is
Andrew Rodger. It's me. I'm back. Yay!
Yay! He's back. He is joining us as the host on this show, as well as Lucinda Rhodes Thakrar, because we have on Dave Beton. Dave is the director of Confession that Andrew Rodger is the cinematographer and Lucinda Rhodes Tha is the producer for. Oh, yes. Dave Beton, so if you don't know, has worked on many films and TV productions, including recently EastEnders and Hollyoaks, but he's mainly known for his film work. He's produced and written Screwed and Green Street 3, and he's also directed Tower Block, and he's directed and written I Am Soldier and The Hatton Garden Job. But what we're here to talk about is the feature film Confession, which is out today. Who does it star, Andy?
It stars Colin Meaney and Stephen Moyer and Claire Hope Asherty.
Yes, and Chris Johnson and
Sadie Jean Shirley.
What a cast. What a lineup. On the pod, we talked about how terrifying it can be in the business at the moment, the business changes that are happening, why Dave wanted to make a contained movie, how he wrote it in 2 weeks, and why he is very structured when he writes.
We also talked about the director-DoP relationship, why we should move the camera, shooting day for night, and why movie making is about tone.
We also talked about why you can't please everyone, the stress that can happen on set, why it's an addiction to make movies, and the raising of the finance.
We also talked about the 20-minute takes we did on set. And David also talks about why you need to kick doors in to move forward in this business.
It's a brilliant episode. Dave was very candid, very open, and myself, Andrew and Lucinda had a really delightful chat. It was really ace. Really enjoyed it. Before we get to the episode, though, Andrew, you have some news, which is super exciting.
Yep. The new single from X Kings is out. It came out yesterday. It's called...
Is that Jay-Z's new?
No, this is my new hip-hop project.
Wait, are you serious?
Have you not heard this?
No.
Yeah.
What?
I've got a hip. We've been on it for about 18 months. There's like loads of tracks. So this is our first track that we're dropping.
You're blowing my mind because
I'm not an
music
MC,
is metal.
Obviously. But yeah, so the drummer in my metal band, Robel, we're doing a hip hop project. Just me and him. I'm producing. He's MCing.
That's so cool, mate. I want to hear this.
Thanks, man. X Kings, XKNGS.
We'll put a link in the show notes. That wasn't the news I expected, but I liked it. Because your actual news, apart from X Kings news, which is Ace, the X Kings, what a great title as well. Your news is about a very nice, large feature film you have.
Thanks, dude. So yeah, I got offered a film, quite a big budget film, action movie with aeroplanes and stuff.
With aeroplanes?
Not the one you're thinking of, that's already been shot.
Got you.
But yeah, it's quite exciting. It's going to start in about a month.
Look, it's so amazing. It's such good news. But I suppose what might help our audiences is how do you present yourself to keep moving forward, I suppose.
That's the thing, I guess, isn't it? I mean, as long as you're not always moving up. Sometimes you move down a little bit for a film and then you get back up again. But the thing that's been really useful to me is keeping an up-to-date show reel.
Yes.
And people keep... I've had contrary advice. They're saying that once you get to a certain point, you don't need one. And that might be true, but that's not me yet. So having an up-to-date show reel that shows the kind of work that you're pitching for, or the kind of work that you want to do, has been really useful. And I feel like I got this film because of the show reel I had, and because in it links to some stuff from The Dare, and The Dare is quite a similar kind of setup to this. It's kind of a contained thing.
Good name drop for The Dare. Still available now. You can watch it on Sky Movies or
The Dare.
Amazon.
I don't feel like I'm able to come with a show without talking about The Dare. Like,
I think
contractually.
it's just natural now that we just do.
It's just part of the culture, isn't it?
It's part of the culture of this podcast. People just accept it.
Yeah, skip.
Probably just tune out. But that's really interesting because we were shooting pickups the other day on Wolves of War, on the War film. So we're just doing the final bits of that. And then I'm locking picture this week. Very super excited. And then we're getting on to sound, grade, score, and tying it all together in a lovely little bow and putting it out into the world very soon. But you said to me, I've got this new reel. And I was like, oh, wow, I hadn't seen it. And then that night I watched it and I was like, wow, it's really well laid out. And you can watch it at 35mm.dop.com.
Yep. 35mmdop.com.
Go have a look at that. But I really enjoyed how you'd done it, and I've always liked your show reels anyway, but I felt this was really cool. You'd sort of taken things from Stay Close, which is the #1 show on Netflix recently, wasn't it? Which is amazing. And then you've done it in sections this time rather than just a mumble jumble of stuff.
That was the thing. Yeah, I think that's what's changed is like earlier it was like, here are some good shots and here's all the different things I've done, like trying to show the experience I have. But now I'm a little older maybe, and now the projects I'm getting, people more want to see like a section of something, like that you can keep a coherent look across a project, or that you've done a certain thing. So I did that, and I've put like Stay Close for like the bits that are Stay Close, and then there's like the Dare section, and then there's like a confession bit.
That's really cool. Do you think that having a website, like say you mentioned about the show reel and stuff, but do you also think having a website as a DP is pretty vital?
I think it's super important. I mean, as well as networking, like as much as you can, but if you're not that kind of person, then for sure, man. Websites are good because they can be international. People can look at them all over the world at any time of day or night, and you haven't got to be there sending stuff out. So yeah, they're good, but just make them really clear and simple and shareable. And
so talk us through how you, like when you're going for a pitch meetings for any of these jobs, what is it that you set out? What is it that you say? It's always interesting. We always talk about the director side of it all the time, or the producer or the writer, how you pitch your project. But how do you do that as a cinematographer?
So there's a couple different, I've like noticed 2 different types of interview. One is kind of, they want you to come with ideas, and they'll say, look, if you have any references or anything, because they'll always send you the script first. So sometimes I'll pull together a little mood board of stuff in a PDF or something that has, things that I like that are eye-catching that might work for the tone, and then you can go, and that's something to talk about with the director. The other half of the time, they've already seen your work, they've seen something that you've done that they like, and they just want to make sure you're not a dickhead, and they can work with you. And that's quite useful for me as well, because I can also suss them out a bit. So it's a bit like a date, like a job interview.
Yes,
kind of. It's a job interview. Yeah,
it's a job interview, but you, like say, you're working very closely with the director, the producers, whoever else it is, so therefore you've got to make sure that you're going to like each other, because there's nothing worse than a director DP falling out. So it's a date. You're right. If it's a director's project, you're coming on as right. You've got to sort of be that person, right?
I guess, and the thing I've accepted, because I used to get quite like over prepare for them and quite stressed about them, but to be honest, nowadays I think so much of it is talking to someone and just vibing with them and seeing if you get on, and if they don't like you, you might as well be the person that you are, and if they can cope with that, then that's great, you'll work well together, and if not, it's not the job for you.
Yeah, no, I like that.
And I've actually done better, I think, with that attitude than being like, I've got this and look at this. And that
says something, doesn't it? I think it's the same with actors when they come in the room, when they're all fully nervous and tense and going, yes, no, I must do this and I've prepared this, but it's the same. Sometimes it's a bit more relaxed. I know it's really hard to do, and the same with going to a meeting for anyone. It's pitching, it's really hard. But you've got to get good at it. Practice, Be prepared to kiss a lot of frogs, you know what I mean? Practice and film yourself doing it. What do you look like if you've got to do an actual pitch, a presentation? Yeah, it's so important. Amazing. Congratulations. I look forward to announcing that when we can.
Thanks, dude. You skipped past a bit of amazing news, which is you pretty much finished Wolves of War.
Yes. It's super exciting. Yeah, I'm really, it's looking great. It's looking really good.
What I've seen is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, Neil Lenthal has done a great job cutting it together, and now getting the score and bits. Yeah, it's all coming together. I'm pleased with it. Just got a lot of notes from friends, filmmaker friends I know, directors, editors, producers, just to give me that feedback, yourself included, just to sort of go, hey, where are we at? Is there anything we can improve here? And it's been really nice to get the good feedback and feel that we're in the right place. We have some shout outs for those people who have been amazing this week, whether they've joined our Patreon, which you can do as well, or they've replied to our wrap up, which is our weekly Sunday report on the news that's happening, or they've just been ace on Twitter and just retweeted and liked our stuff and made a comment about it. Thank you. There's more. Sometimes I miss them, but these are the ones that have. 12th Peer Production, Wesley Jones, Lynn Coleman, welcome, Kurt Weiser, Rain McCormack, Radostin Radev, and Lucille Howe. Thank you. We got an email from Caroline Steiner. I hope I pronounced your name right, Caroline. She is working on a project called Lapushka, which is directed by Kevin Proctor and actually DOP'd by Sashi Kisoon, who I've worked with in the past. The cast includes Maxine Peake, Barney Fishwick, Sunil Patel, Rob Carter, Nicola Holt, Bobby Mayer, and Tim Renkov. They have already shot this. It is brilliant. They're now wanting a bit of money for their post, and they don't need much. So if there's anything you can spare, have a look at their Indiegogo campaign. Link to it will be in the show notes. It's called the Butternut Squash Gang in Lapushka, and it stars Maxine Peake. She's playing an 11-year-old in it. They believe the world needs something that is plain and simple, and this is a nostalgic adventure to laugh with and watch again and again. Movies that inspired this are things like The Goonies and Stand By Me. There's so many local children who performed in this as well, and they deserve all the love and luck that they can. So they just need a bit more cash. So if you can support, if you've got anything to give this week, then please do. Links to this are in the show notes. And of course, letting you know, reminding you, next week we have on Ian McKellen. That is right, Sir Ian McKellen, he of Lord of the Rings fame, will be joining myself, Matthew Butler-Hart, and Tori Butler-Hart for a very special in-depth interview about his career. He talks acting, working with directors, and producing a movie himself. Look out for that next week with Ian Bloomin' McKellen. Right, Andrew Rodger.
Hello, Giles Alderson.
Shall we get to today's episode with Lucinda Rhodes Tha and our special guest, Dave Beton?
No.
Right. All right. Take care, everyone. We will see you next
Good
Tuesday.
To see
Bye-bye. Oh, all right. Here it is. Here is our episode with the rather delectable Dave Beton. How are we, Dave? You all right?
Yeah, very good, mate.
Andrew, how are you? How have you been? Did you enjoy New Year and did you enjoy your Christmas?
Yeah, it was good. Quite Christmas, quite New Year. Obviously, same as everyone this year. But yeah, it was real nice. Been using the time to tidy up and do a bit of car stuff. All good. Yeah.
Excellent. I like it. So Confession is out now. Go and watch it. It is amazing. What an achievement, right? You know, making a film in COVID, in lockdown, is still a great achievement, I think, generally. How did you feel just sort of, the three of you really, making movies in lockdown?
Let's all answer at the same time. Should we
all
answer at the
same time?
For me, you know, the whole lockdown thing, to start with, it was a bit of a novelty. But then I did make a conscious decision, like, if I don't do something creative, I'm going to go quite mad. I knew that our business was in a peculiar state at that point, and that's when I decided, you know, me and my wife, my kids, we hadn't really got out of our pajamas for a couple of weeks. You know what I mean? So I was like, we need to start living like normal human beings again. Mm-hmm. And part of that for me was to do what I normally do, is that I treat our art and our job like a job. Do you know what I mean? I make sure that I get up in the morning, I go to my computer and I work, I have a tea break, all that type of stuff. That's what works for me. So I decided that I needed to write a film. Confession was like, it was a project that had been kind of in the back of my mind for a couple of years. I had an idea for a movie about a guy in a confession box confessing some terrible things that he'd done for the right reasons. So bad things for the right reasons. And that was all I had. But this then kind of made me sit down and decide to write this movie. And also from a business point of view, I thought if and when film comes back, contained movies are going to be safer to shoot, all of those types of things. So there was a creative rationale behind it, along with a business rationale behind it. So I sat down and I wrote it really quick. I'd done the first draft in 2 weeks, and it was super. I'm quite a fast writer anyway, but this was super quick. And then I gave it to Lucinda, and then it then just happened really quickly from there on. You know, from the minute I finished the script, was that in end of April?
Because we'd only met once at the Hatton Garden Job premiere years ago, and then David and I spoke on the phone. You know, you'd got my number from somebody or whatever, and we had a call and we got on really well, and that was in the December, and then by April you'd finished Confession and we shot in November.
November. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that all happened really quick.
It did. What's your writing process like then? It said you took 2 weeks. Is there a gestation period where you sit on it for a bit, you know, like you maybe it's been in the back of your mind for a year and you're slowly thinking about an idea, or did this literally come out of this moment and you're there with the kids and you go, right, I've got to, you know, make something? And was it that quick? Tell us about your writing process generally.
For me, it's very structured, my writing process, really. I will formulate an idea, and it could be something that's in my mind bubbling for, could be a couple of days, couple of weeks, or even this one. The idea for Confession was a couple of years, but I had the idea stored, but I'd never fleshed it out. So before I ever open final draft, I always make sure I have a solid outline. I write an outline, which is, that's my recipe for the meal, right? And then once I've got my recipe, I can then start cooking. And when I cook, I can add extra ingredients as I go along, but I have a recipe to guide me. And that's how I've always done my writing, you know. So whatever it is, I make sure, and things can change, but I make sure I don't free write. You know, some people free write. They'll open final draft and they just go and see where it lands. But for me, I need to have structure. If I don't have structure, it's kind of it falls down. And I kind of take that, for me, I take that into the way I direct as well, is I like to have, as Andy will confirm, that I like to spend time with my DP doing a shot list and all this sort of stuff. And I'd say 60% of the time I'll stick to that. And it's the same with the outline of the script. I don't always stick to it, because when you're a creative person and you're doing this type of stuff, you want to let the creative stuff take over a bit. But as long as I've got a guideline of what I'm working towards, it's kind of my safety blanket more than anything else. And that's how I do it.
It's interesting because, like you say, Confession it is a contained film. So therefore the idea might have been easier in the gestation to go, okay, well, I want this to happen, I want that to happen. What's really tough about it though is because it is contained, there is a lot of words, and it's potentially most of the time two people on screen. So therefore you've got to have a lot of backstory, a lot of interesting ups and downs within that, because there is a lot going on, but you've got to hide it or keep it secret for moments. How did you find that? Because you've really got to plant where you want your seeds, your mini ideas and your little ups and downs to go. Otherwise it's, you know, it's a chamber piece forever. But whereas you put so much depth into it.
It's a really good question. And it was incredibly tough because, you know, I come from the school of show it, don't say it. But of course, when you're dealing with a movie like Confession, it's a big crime movie without the crime. In the same way Reservoir Dogs was a heist movie without the heist, right? When you're dealing with a whole movie that is basically the end of something big and fantastical that's happened, there has to be, by default, a lot of exposition in there to get it across. And now the problem, obviously, with exposition, if it's, you know, obviously it's on the nose, but if it's too on the nose, it becomes boring and you're leading the audience too much. So the trick with Confession, which was very difficult, was to give the exposition that the viewer needs whilst keeping the mystery alive, so they don't understand exactly where it's going and what the revelations are going to be. So it was just kind of like, what I tried to do is, with Victor Strong, Stephen Moyer's character in particular, I just tried to put myself in his position and go, right, if I've got all of this stuff that I need to reveal, how would I do it and how would I take control of the situation? So more than I've ever done before in a script, I really kind of wrote quite a lot in the first person from his perspective. And that's how I think it, you know, I'm not going to say it's perfect. Nothing's perfect, you know. I'm sure there's parts of it that could have been better in revealing the mystery and stuff, but that's how I did it, and that's how I tried to make it work, and that's what makes it a unique movie in that respect, you know. Yeah,
it really is. The difference between sort of writing Confession and the fact you've written so many other movies as well, The Banishing, Hadn't Gone Job, Green Street 3, Screwed. Can you describe the difference between writing Confession on your own and just sitting there and getting on with it, knowing you wanted to write a contained movie, as opposed to writing something that, you know, these were before the pandemic. So you're making movies you're writing movies that are bigger in scope, an idea. Talk us through the differences, if you don't mind.
For me, fundamentally, there is no difference. I mean, in the way that I approach it, I could be writing Interstellar for Christopher Nolan, or I could be writing Confession for me. the approach, the planning, and what I want to achieve and engage in the audience would fundamentally be the same. But I guess the two biggest different types of movie I'd say that I approach differently in the stylistically would be, if you look at the Hatton Garden Job, that is full on popcorn fun. It's a crime caper. It's the Italian Job. It's that type of feel good fun caper, still with elements of thriller inside it. But that's stylistically, that's the polar opposite of what Confession is, which is it's a deep story about a troubled man who's gone through some incredibly bad things, and it's about how he reveals that. So I think those two types of movies were so opposite that my mindset had to be different. But then when I had like The Banishing, which was a horror, and Confession, there was similarities in them, because the way Andy and I paced Confession on screen and the way I think that I wrote it, it has a horror feel to it, Confession, It has that very suspenseful feel. So I guess it's about the difference in writing them is getting, for me, it's about getting my mindset in tune with the tone of the movie that I'm writing. And that could be, when I did the Hatton Garden Job, I was listening to the score of the Italian Job, things like that, With Confession, I was listening to a lot of stuff from Hitchcock films and things like that. So as long as my mindset is in the right place for the tone of the film, hopefully that comes across right. But fundamentally, whatever I'm writing, an episode of Hollyoaks, I'll still throw the kitchen sink at it.
So you've written the script and we've gone through the process, and you have your producer, and
that's you.
This is me. So we have a green-lit movie now, and then we have to engage collaborators, obviously, to work to David so he can explain his vision and get the right collaborators on. Hence why we introduced the lovely Andrew Rodger, who'd obviously I'd worked with before. So I introduced Andrew to Dave, and then the guys started working together and shot listing and, putting the vision on screen. So do you want to talk us through your first meetings with Dave, Andrew, and what you thought about the script when you first read it, and what made you want to join Confession?
Well, obviously, it's your film, so I'm in. But beyond that, no, I mean, like, in all seriousness,
we are serious sometimes, honestly.
It's fine. It's good.
I actually meant that, but okay.
Thanks, Andrew.
No, I mean, that's the big part of it. Like, having worked with you before and knowing that the production would be good and make a good film, and you weren't going to waste time with it. And obviously, it was a difficult time to start making a movie. I mean, it's always difficult, but at the beginning of a lockdown, so David and I met like this over Zoom. I think that was our first chat.
And I still don't know how to use bloody Zoom after all this time.
But you were able to get in the room with Andrew. I mean, I know it initially started with Zooms, and we did quite a few HODs on Zooms. Funny enough, we managed, and this is something we'll talk about later, we did manage to get our cast physically in a room together, because we had flown them over 4 days before we started shooting. So we had some wonderful rehearsals.
Oh, nice.
But you did get in the room with Andy, and I know that you spent several days shot listing.
He come to my house, didn't you, Andy? We spent quite a few days together. The coolest dude turns up to my house in a Jag with his amazing hair, gets out, and I was like, this guy is just the coolest man I've ever met in my life.
You were driving left.
Do you know what? Everyone says that. Do you know what Andrew had? We shot in a church for Confession, and Andrew had a parking space directly outside the front door. Nobody else could park there. Andrew drove in every day, door slammed, hair went swoosh.
Yeah.
As he got out
of slow motion.
I don't think anyone said I could park there. I just assumed that I'm going to park here.
You're the Reverend. You're like, I'm parking in the Reverend's parking spot.
Yeah, bless you, my child, yeah.
Every day, right next to the catering van as well.
He walks out looking like Jesus, going, bless you, child, bless you, child. The car park space is parted for him. And he went. I love it. So you two were chatting away about the process behind it. What was the chat then? Because this is quite interesting how directors and DOPs do chat at that point. Obviously, me and Andy have chatted loads about that, but interesting to hear the other side. How did you pitch it, Dave? And Andy, how did you pitch back to Dave? Dave, we'll start with you.
First thing, what I want, when I work with a DOP, I don't want to front load to them what I expect from the project. I want to hear what their thoughts are to see whether it's come across on the script, first of all, whether we're in sync from the off. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously if you turn around and said, he saw it as a comedy musical, we'd be, you know, miles apart.
Which he was.
Which he did. And I said, we will keep that for the sequel. So yeah, I just kind of let Andy speak to me. We had a call, you know, what do you think of it? And then on the first call, I think, Andy, we were on the same page immediately, you know, which made my life a lot easier because he understood from the script what I wanted to do. And then I think it just kind of organically built from that. And, you know, I'm very trusting in my HODs. You know, I'm a director. I can't, as you can see, I can't even use an iPhone. But I know exactly what I want, and I need people, HODs, particularly my cinematographer, to give me a better version of what I want. So I would say to Andy exactly how I'd want a scene to run, and then we would talk about it. We'd write shot lists together, but Andy a lot of times I'll say corrects my original shot list, because he'd say we should try this, and I'd go, that's a better version of what I want. Thank you again. That's why you're my cinematographer. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of from my perspective how it went. And then I hope he agrees with this. I found it incredibly easy. You know, it wasn't a drag. We shot listed very, very easily. And you know, once we got out there on the dance floor on the day, I kind of think we found our groove relatively fast. Well, you had to, considering we had 12 days to shoot the bloody thing. We didn't have time to not find our groove.
And hardly any crew, actually, because of obviously the COVID.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to that. I mean, yeah, it was same for me, really. I mean, I think you know pretty quickly when you talk to a director for the first time if you're going to be able to work with them. Got on with David straight away. And there's a thing with directors, like sometimes they'll just be about the actors and they'll have no kind of like visual idea, and then sometimes, you know, they've just got like a really strong vision, and as a DP you kind of have to fit in between that roles. But the nice thing with David was he had really good ideas visually, but was really collaborative about it. So yeah, he'd say, how about this? And I'd say, yeah, brilliant, what if we also did this or did this? And it made it really easy to make it good.
Can you give us an example, David? It'd be really interesting to see, you know, what your vision was. I know it's difficult maybe now to remember too much, but it'd be really interesting, I think, for our listeners to know that you said, look, you know, I wanted to do these big vistas or these big wides or these tracking shots. I wanted to slowly push in. It'd be really interesting to know, and I'd love to know as well, actually, what your thought process as the director was to build each individual scene, because they were talking heads a lot of the time. There were two people talking to each other. So how did you think you're going to build this to the brilliant finale that it is?
I think the key point for me was what I first said to Andy was, if the camera's not moving, it's not working. You know, that was kind of my mantra with this film. Not that we didn't do stuff on sticks, because we did, but the thing with a movie like Confession, as you've said, essentially it's a play, right? It's mainly any way we dress this up, it's an intense thriller, but it's born out of conversations. So the key for me is, you know, it's like the movie Buried, right? Ryan Reynolds. The film's set inside a coffin, but it's visually epic, right? The camera moves and you're on the edge of your seat. It's a stunning piece of film. So for me, it was always about how can we keep every scene as intense and visually beautiful as possible, because one, it's written inside a church, so you've got a backdrop which is cinematic by default. So we just need to utilize the location that we're in, because the problem is with a film like Confession, if you're not keeping it looking good and feeling tense, it can be boring. So the whole thing for me was that every scene, as much as possible, it had to come with I guess like a mini story point of a beginning, middle, and end. So there's like a climatic point within each scene, and the camera would move to distinguish those climatic points. So the whole point, you know, there's moments in the film when it's two people talking, but I think you're shitting yourself, right? It's quite intense and quite scary. So the visual side of this movie, and you know, I thank Andy for saying that, it was very important to me that it had to feel big and look big and feel like a real movie to make sure that the audience were with the story. So that's how I kind of approached every scene, is to make sure that they were as intense as possible. And there's no fat on this film, is there? It's straight in, straight out. I mean, the runtime is what? I think 83 minutes.
Something like that.
It is quick.
Yeah.
You don't have a moment to breathe. And that was the point of the film. And that's down to, I said it on a quote recently, you know, this movie doesn't have VFX and CGIs, you know, the actors and the camera do the talking. That is what this is. This old-fashioned filmmaking that I'd like to say at its best, because it is. It's a camera, it's actors, and it's cut in a way that gives you that tension, you know?
And Andy, how did you then put that onto, you know, what your vision was, where Dave said that to you, said, this is what I want. How then did you expand on that? But also then how did you achieve that? Because it does achieve that, exactly what you said, building up the tension massively, and it keeps it interesting throughout the whole movie.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, just like that, just lots of conversations, lots of references. I watched Buried again, and that was a big visual reference. But also, like, when I talked about this before, but every film you shoot, you learn something new, and it becomes useful 2 or 3 films down the line. There's things I learned on the dare. You know, obviously a lot of the dare is in one room. But when we shot that, we'd say, right, this scene is going to be shot, you know, all long lens, or there's going to be one move, or so I brought some of those things on this, and also on King Arthur. What's it called? Arthur and Merlin, Knights of Camelot. There's lighting stuff in that I brought across to Dave's movie, because, you know, that was a lot in castles, natural light. This is in a beautiful church, natural light. Am I allowed to say we shot it in the day? Is that?
Of course.
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
cool.
I mean, the blackout fell down on a daily basis, and we had to go clambering up the scaffold. But yes,
bless you and
no
Jeep
problem.
Yeah,
we had my son up on a ladder holding it, didn't we?
You did, and Liam, who's brilliant. Yeah, shout out.
Oh, brilliant! Hang on, so you've got you all out there with gaffer tape trying to hold up these blackouts
Totally.
in the church.
Oh yeah,
because every day, so actually following on, yes, we shot it during the day for lots of reasons. It's easier during the day, health and safety, you know, all of those things. And obviously we had to black the church out, and we're on a budget. So, you know, we couldn't black the entire church out, as you can imagine, same as Arthur and Merlin. The high windows.
I've got to interject here quickly for something how Andy was so brilliant at this, right? Because I've never shot Day for Night.
You were nervous, I remember.
It was blowing my mind that we only had to black out one side of the church. And I think I asked Andy every 15 minutes for 12 days, is this going to look like night? And he said, yes, just trust me. And I did. And the blackout that we did have, Giles, was falling down.
Right.
So I was like,
Go mad.
Lucinda, I can't shoot with this because it's falling down. And she was like, well, you're losing time. I would shoot something, or you're not going to have a film. Right, let's... and then I'd say, let's fix it in post. Yeah, but we don't have money for post. Let's just shoot the thing then, and hope for the best. And Andy, in his wisdom, he really did. And it looks beautiful, because I had very distinctive visual references that I shared with Andy of how I wanted stuff to look. And the candles that he used, the magic candles that we moved around, which are great. And he showed me some references of stuff, and I was just like, that is bang on the money. It hits, you know, movie making for me is about tone, yeah? It's all about tone. If you get the tone right for whatever piece you're doing, you can be forgiven for certain elements. You've just got to get the tone right. And Andy, it's been complimented since the first time I showed the movie to anybody. It's been complimented how well it was shot. And that's testament to what he'd done, because, you know, whilst I trusted him and I was looking at the dailies and I could see, but still sometimes on the day I was like, are we going to be able to grade that right? It's like, yeah, it's 4K. And then we did. And it worked. So he literally shot a movie at night time with candles, with massive windows, when there was sunlight coming through them lots of times, and he made it look like night. The man's a genius. Do you know what I mean? So,
love it. I'd
like to agree with you, Dave, of course, but
I mean,
but thank you. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like, you work with the restrictions you have, and you use them to advantage. We use the sun as the moon, and you know, we couldn't black the whole church anyway because you need light to come in. But I mean, a huge part of the look as well is Maria Chamberlain, the colorist on it, who just did an incredible job, just shaping those extra shadows and you know, just really, really making it look like night, which is fantastic.
She got it, didn't she, as well? She just got it. She knew very quickly what we were trying to achieve, and that what we kind of had the perfect storm, really, with key people that are involved. It's like we got a composer on, guy from the States called Dimitri, and he He's done a lot of big kind of Netflix stuff, but he watched the film and he just instantly got what we needed to do with it, and he elevated the movie. We made this movie on peanuts, right? But if you look at the cast, you look at how it looks, the way it's presented, it's a proper, what we've achieved it's the biggest achievement in my career without a shadow of a doubt, because I would say my stress levels were at their peak.
That's fascinating. And what did you learn? Like, and if you go back now, or you're going to make another Confession 2 next week or whatever, imagine, how would your stress levels be? Would you have learned from what you went through to sort of go, look, maybe I didn't need to be so stressed? Just to tell our filmmakers out there that sometimes, obviously we can get stressed on a film set, but have you learned from it, I suppose, is a really important question.
I think sort of kind of airing what Andy said earlier, you learn something from every movie you make. That was my full feature as director. I think the stress levels were peaking on this film for there was no time. We didn't have any time. We had an incredibly tight budget. We were pulling in favours left, right and centre to get it done. Some days I was shooting 16 pages. This is a feature film. I've just done a block of EastEnders, and there's a misconception sometimes with independent film that they think we have it easy and we work slow. And I was like, on EastEnders, I was shooting 12, 13 pages, sometimes more. But on a show like EastEnders, when I've got multiple cameras,
lights already set up, sets already done,
massive crew, I've got a gallery that's looking over with continuity, just the help on that. I found that much easier than Confession, because the thing with Confession is that we were shooting at a kind of soap pace, and it was a feature film with one camera with limited crew during a lockdown, and it was I look back on it with complete fondness. So to answer your question, is there stuff I've learned? Oh, of course there is. I think from my perspective as director, if you don't have moments when you're asking yourself a question and there's some internal stress there, that could be a period where you maybe are not caring as much, and it might be the time to kind of hang up your camera. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I think that tension and that stress is there because you care so much, and that's what it is.
Do you think the fear from it is the fear of failure, the fear of the fact that you had made 3 movies before this, successful movies? Do you think the fear is the fact that we as directors, filmmakers, make something and then people go, oh, it wasn't good enough, and we go, but I only had, and we come up with the excuses, but no one cares about the excuses. Do you think that was a factor? No.
I think the fear of failure is always there. If you don't have that concern, a slight concern, for me, that internal monologue of, is this going to be as good as I hope it's going to be? Have I cocked this up or whatever? I think, again, you're not caring enough in my perspective. So I think I've become kind of desensitized to reviews of my films because, when I did the Hatton Garden Job, I was massively criticised for ripping off Guy Ritchie. And when I did the Hatton Garden Job, I was massively praised for being the new Guy Ritchie. Okay? Right. So you can't please everyone. So my fear of failure it comes from, am I happy with the film that I've delivered? And I always put it in the percentage terms of, if you get to a movie and you're 70 to 75%, your movie's at that 75% of where you hoped it would be when you started, I think you've made a really good movie, because everything you do comes with boundaries, and a lot of those are financial. You have an idea of how you want to shoot something, but you can't have a crane and a drone and 1,400 extras. So it's always, you're compromising at every level, whatever you do. So for me, it's about can I and have I delivered a film that is as good as it could have been with all the things that I had? And that's where I'm satisfied as a person. You're quite right. Some people might say, well, you did that wrong. Well, no, I didn't have the money. They don't give a shit whether you had the money or not, But yeah, so there was no extra fear from this than any other film or in anything else I've directed. I found it very hard. They were tiring days. We had a lot to get through. You know, at one stage, Andy and I, do you remember that scene, Andy? We were doing 20-minute takes. I mean, I've never done that in my life. 20-minute takes.
Wow.
I wondered where my production manager had gone. He said, I'm just going to take something to Dave. And then 40 minutes later, I texted him, where are you? When they're doing 20-minute takes, Lucinda, they won't let me out.
And that's something I may never repeat again. But we Andy and I and the actors, we were rehearsing this scene. It's the longest dialogue scene in it.
Yeah.
And the guys, they were doing, Stephen and Colin were doing amazing stuff.
How they remembered those lines is amazing.
Yeah,
incredible.
But these, it was such a big part of the film. Sometimes you know what it's like when you're directing. If an actor gets their lines wrong, it can take them out of the moment. Mm-hmm. You try and go. You just have to cut. You start again. We rehearsed this. We couldn't do that because the scene was so long. So it's like, look, I'm just gonna stay action. Andy and I had spoken about what he's going to do with the camera. He's just going to keep it moving, and I'm just going to keep rolling it. And if I want to give any instructions, which I would shout out, stop, go back to this line or whatever, carry on. And then we done it. I think we've done it 6 times, didn't we, Andy? 6 times we've done that. 20-minute takes.
Yeah. I just couldn't believe it. I've never seen actors do that. Like Colin and Stephen, just like machines, and beautiful performances every time and different things each time. But it was
theatre. It's theatre.
Yeah, it was like watching an incredible play. It's a super intimate thing, and the camera was just tracking across. There's me and a little team of people just quietly trying not to squeak, pushing this camera left and right. It was quite a memory. It was amazing. Yeah.
Wow, which must have been like say if then the black did fall down during a 20-minute take, or someone did come through the door, or someone did make a noise. I can understand.
It happened.
Well, that's what I mean. How annoying that must be. But at the same time, it's like, well, it's indie filmmaking, isn't it? People aren't used to a 20-minute take. But wow, no wonder the actors loved it, because actors do love that stuff. There's no question about it. They can get in the moment, get in with it, and it's really hard for those crew who aren't involved in that specific moment. They're out the back, or they're holding up a flat, or because they're going, come on guys. So I can see why tensions would rise, but at the end of the day, it is about what's on screen. It is about what you deliver, and the cinematography here is fantastic. The performance is fantastic. The direction of that is fantastic. So you did achieve what you were aiming to achieve. But yes, I can see 12 days is tough. Let's just jump back a tiny bit we sort of glossed over the greenlit side of this film, and I think it's really important here, where you went from writing this or having the initial idea in 2 weeks and getting a really solid script to sending something to Lucinda and bringing Andy and then the team and then casting Colin Meaney and Stephen Moyer. But we've missed a little section, which was how the actual money came about and how it happened, which is what a lot of our indie filmmakers want to hear. So I don't know who best is to take this at the moment, but maybe just talk us through how that happened and how you actually managed to raise the money for the film. Yeah,
obviously Dave and I had discussed the film and who the best financiers were to partner up on this particular project. And we went out to lots of different people, and a lot of people who wanted to put the finance in. And Dave and I wanted to sit very comfortably knowing that this was a special project that we were making together. Mm-hmm. The first time we'd worked together. So we wanted it to live, with the right people that, would back us and let us do what we wanted to do with it creatively, and let Dave put his, flair on it without staunching the process at all. Mm-hmm. We already had, Stephen was our first cast member we attached, and then obviously the lovely Colin jumped off another project to join our one, I think. But that's a whole different story for a glass of wine.
I hope they weren't already filming when he did that.
It was before filming, but on a project from the same financier. So that's what kind of funny.
But obviously the filmmakers, we're all friends, so it's it's all good.
It was a great moral win for us. It's brilliant.
No, we had a joke with them actually on the phone. You stole our leading man. But all in jest, it was great fun, We're all collaborators.
For you guys, it was. But anyway, so go on. You mentioned they're a financier. So what did you? So now you went to Stephen Moyer first with the project, because obviously you worked with him in the past.
Yeah. So David worked with him on Hatton Garden Job. He really wrote it for Stephen, actually, with Stephen in mind. Stephen loved it.
And now you've got a name attached, so you're in a better place already. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, we had decided, you know, the script had gone to lots of different financiers, and we had already got the interest before we'd actually, you know, got the cast. But it did help move it along quicker, but also just we wanted to get casting, we wanted to get moving, rather than us sit back and still decide who we wanted to place the project with. So Dave and I went ahead and cast the project. Stephen was first, Colin very close second on joining the project, and Dave and I spent many hours deciding on, you know, who to kind of put the project with, and we went with Signature because I've worked with them before, he's worked with them before, we get on very well with them, and so that was the best fit for the movie we thought. So that's why we ended up going with Signature, and yeah, that's kind of how that ended up.
And for any new filmmakers out there, you've got to look on both sides of the picture whenever you are wanting to put a project together. Like, you have to look at from a financier's point of view. The first thing they will look at before whether you know you've got the next Oscar-winning script, before they, you know, give you any money at all, they have to look at, what am I exposed for? What is the worst case scenario? What can I lose? And that's what they look at, because what people, particularly some filmmakers, forget is that above everything, where the money comes from, it's a business. And if the business doesn't make money in the long term, there's no longer a business, there's no longer money, then you no longer make films. So the way I've always approached filmmaking is to try and come up with a project that I obviously are artistically fulfilled by and I've bought into it, but it also is producer friendly and financier friendly, that they can run numbers on it, like you said. And there's two ways of doing that. It's IP, or a massive story that people know, or it has a massive cast name. When you're operating as an independent level, you need to try and mix and match that. You get the best names you can get with your script and money, and you make the script as, you know, as commercially viable. And by commercially viable is that I think distributors and financiers, they need to be able to say what a film is within a sentence or two. And if they can do that, they can pitch it, they can sell it, and they can get people on board. You know, one of the best examples of that is my friend's Johannes Roberts. He directed 47 Meters Down. It's produced by Tea Shop. And those guys, he had the idea. He was really into diving, and he had the idea about these full face masks. And they tried to get it off the ground, but nobody could see what he could see. So they shot a 2-minute teaser. Then they got it financed off that, because it was proof of genre, concept. Proof of concept. Yeah. So it is that way with, you know, like you said, unless you are in the luxurious position of, you know, of being a Shane Meadows or a Guy Ritchie or any of these types that can, you know, their name on it is enough to sell. You have to be, and there's a very small percentage of people that have that luxury. Because I know, without name dropping too much, I know massive writers and directors that get turned down all the time with projects still. You know, it is always it's an uphill battle, but you've got to try and navigate that hill as best you can, and it's giving the financiers, they want to know, what are they exposed for, what's their bottom line, and that's what it comes down to. And any way we kind of dress that up, that is it. I mean, the only place that consistently don't mind losing money is the BFI, because they hardly ever invest in commercial movies, and that is the filmmakers club that has a no entry sign to the majority of filmmakers, which is completely arse about face, because they should be helping filmmakers start out, but they don't. And I say that as somebody who's, you know, made one of the most successful independent films in the last 5 years in the Hatton Garden Job. You know, 8 movies in, I've never had a dime out of the BFI, not one penny, not one piece of help, and I've never even had a meeting, and that says it all. You know, and I think there's a fundamental flaw within our business, the support there for up and coming filmmakers is just not there. You have to be, as a filmmaker, like you are, Giles. You know, you have to be somebody that's savvy and aware of the business to navigate your way through, because the doors, the doors, they're never open, are they? You constantly have to kick them down. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that new filmmakers have to understand. That, you know, I was naive to it at the start. I thought, once I made a film, the phone's going to ring non-stop and I'll make whatever I want. It just doesn't happen. It's a business like any other that you have to constantly keep working on to get business. It's a tough one. It is
a really tough one, and it is very true. And you do have to kick the door down, and actually sometimes that door is still bolted, and you can't kick it through, like the BFI. And some people have had success. We've had people on the podcast who have, some indie films have managed to break through that door, but certain people like myself and you at the moment, we're not getting through. It's just the system. But I think if people know that that's the system, don't expect anything. And I think it makes you work harder. It certainly made me and you work harder, I'd say. Lucinda, the same. You know, we'd sort of go, hey, totally. We didn't get help from them, but you know what? Maybe I don't need them. Because if you rely on that, you know, I know the Danish system and the Swedish system, they rely on that conveyor belt. You can't get on that conveyor belt. Once you're in, you kind of go, I'm in this now. I don't have to do anything. But we're not like that here in the UK. We all really want to succeed and work hard, and, you know, stick fingers up to them and go, and then maybe we'll need them then, you know. I don't know, but I think it is really interesting, and the more you know how hard it is, the better. And that's why it's great you say that, Dave, because it's true. It's a tough old door to kick in. So you've got to have that steel helmet on to start with if you're going to bash your head against it, you know? Let's jump it straight into when you're filming. You're working with actors of the caliber of Stephen Moyer and Colin Meaney and Claire Hope Ashitey. Yeah. How do you work that? You've got 20-minute takes, you know, or you're doing less, you know, you're doing 5-minute takes. How do you work with actors? What's your process to pull a performance or find a seed? What do you like to do there that might be different to your, you know, everyday life?
I think for me it's key that I have long discussions with my cast before we start filming. And because I come, you know, I have directed a script that I haven't written, but well, quite a few now from EastEnders as well. Yeah, quite a few. But because I come from a writer's background to start, I'm a writer first, you know, character, backstory and story are kind of something that is within my DNA first. So I like to get on a page with the actors about who the character is, what their journey actually is, what's the point of each sequence. So when we can then be in agreement of who and what the character is. And of course, I encourage, you know, some of the actors I've worked with, some, you know, amazing talent. I like I said earlier about with Andy, I trust my HODs. I want to collaborate. I'm not an actor. I know what I want the characters to be, but I want my actor to come up with ideas too. Sometimes they're not the ideas that I want, and you have to delicately express that. But I try to make sure that we're in agreement with what the character is before we get on the day. It's down to, again, it's back to the preparation of everything. So I just make sure that I'm also not well rehearsed, I'm well read on my own script, because some actors, they will just say what's on the page. Other actors would like to know what the character had for breakfast last Tuesday. So I need to make sure I have the full understanding. And it's easy, even when you've written it, it's easy to forget things. I need to know I have the full understanding of who and what the characters are, so I've got answers. But the other thing I've learned is to not bullshit actors either. If they ask you a question that's tricky and you don't know the answer, own it. I'm not sure. I need to think about that, because if you try and bullshit your way out of stuff, you can lose the respect of the actor straight away. And of course, actors, they're putting their faith in you that you're going to make them look right and good and justify their performance on camera. So they're right to be nervous at certain times. And your job as director is to reassure them that they're doing the right thing. Even sometimes when you ask them to do something they disagree with, you have to kind of reassure them. And there's a fine line of reassurance and also being strong in letting them know that you know what you're doing and you're doing it for a reason. So it's a delicate line of communication. You know, that's what it's all about. And it's the same, you know, if you're an arsehole to your actor, they're going to be an arsehole back.
Indeed.
You know?
Yep.
And likewise, if your actor's going to be an arsehole, you might be a bit stronger with them in making them toe the line in what you want and what you need, you know. So it's just collaboration, it's communication. That's what it's all about. And as a director, you are collaborating and communicating your vision, not from the day you get on set. You're doing that from the day you've given it to a producer. Because my job as Confession, it's all come out of my brain. So my job is to tell everyone that's working on my film exactly what's in my brain. And it's down to me to explain that and project that well enough. And that's when I go back to when you finish a film, if it's 75% of what you originally intended, you've done amazing, because that 25% will come down to cost, your own faults of not explaining it correctly, a multitude of things. So if you can get 75% of what you originally thought it was, for me, that's you've succeeded, whatever people think of your film.
I love that. Yeah, and it must be the same with your crew as well, and you know, especially working with someone as talented as Andy as well, that you know that you can sort of vision for something's up here, and then you go, okay, try and get me that, and then when someone brings you something even better, like you said at the beginning, hey, that's better than even better, that must be great. That must even, you know, there's nothing better, is there? Then you go, I want to do it like this, and then the DP
Dave
goes,
wouldn't know what that's like. He'd have no idea. He's never experienced that.
Oh dear. Yeah, and how is that for you then, Andy? Like say on that, how for this project for Confession, you know, you did have 12 days. Again, you've worked with a lot of the crew before, so you did have a bit of shorthand. Yeah. There were some new people, and obviously Dave knew there with your directing relationship. How is it for you then to plan this and to think about what you had to shoot to make Confession look as it does? Yeah,
I mean, that's obviously great to have the time to sit with Dave and talk it all through, get everything really locked down before we shoot. But yeah, I mean, a bit scary. It's just the crew size. I mean, I had wonderful support from Lucinda and everyone else, which is why I was able to do it. But, you know, we had a spark, and we had a focus puller and a second.
Nathan and Oscar, wasn't it?
And Hermione is a sort of DOT trainee kind of person, who, all of whom, like, incredible. But, you know, you get used to working with teams of 50 people, and then and you go, right, how can I get this? What can I do to make this look good? You know, and get it in the time. But I think there's just a lot of quality. Like, it's a beautiful location. The actors are incredible. They're all, you've seen them on films. They already have that kind of gravitas and that cinematic face. I don't know. And all of them were just fantastic, because you know, you worry, you go into a film with less than you would normally have, and you want to look after everyone, you want to look after the actors, you want to make sure you capture it. But everyone gave so much, including the actors, that it was good. What was your question? I've just rambled on.
No, that was great. It was, how did you manage to plan your shots within that team then? You know, with someone new like Dave, but also your experienced team that you've worked with before. How were you then going, okay, this is what I want to achieve, and how were you communicating that to the team?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, isn't it? You go in with an idea. A lot of the time, someone else will have a better idea. Nathan, the Steadicam chap, we had incredible DP in his own right. He'd say, yeah, cool, or what about this, or I can do this, or, you know, people, because he knows the Steadicam so well, he'll say, yeah, that'll work, but I can also give you this, or this will be nicer, or, so it's that kind of, it's just collaboration. It's being sure of what you want, but being open enough to have someone tell you something better, and recognizing that, you know?
Yeah, being open.
So ask Dave a question. Dave, obviously, we work together, but
you're hosting now. Okay,
well done.
I don't know. I mean, I always mean to ask this. Like, obviously, we worked together great, and we got on straight away. What do you look for as like for a DP when you first meet them? What would you need from them, I guess?
I think the first thing I look for is make sure the person's not an arsehole straight away. Do you know what I mean? You know. Whoops. Yeah, so I just want to make sure what I look for is that there's a creative synergy there straight away, right? So first of all, it is about, is there a personal connection? Can I get along with this person? That being said, it doesn't mean that I wouldn't work with somebody who I wouldn't necessarily be friends with if they were the right talent. But I still want to be able to find a common ground with that person. Yeah, it does make it harder, because if you can find a common ground with that person, you know, whether it's 12 days, 25 days, 50 days, they're long days. And for me, my whole movie, obviously, and this is not taken away from the rest of the crew, but my whole movie on the day of capturing what I need, it's about making sure my actors give me what I need, but I have to make sure that my DP can take care of business and make it look the way that I need. And I need to trust that person. So I need to have an understanding, a creative synergy with the person straight away. Then we get down to the nuts and bolts. You know, what have you done before? Show me references. You know, let's talk. As you know, I'm not the most technically minded person there is, but I do know a little bit about lenses. I know a little bit about, you know, the style and the look and whatever it is that I'm trying to achieve. So I don't necessarily want to be blown away by technical jargon, but I want to know that this person understands their tools, right? Yeah. And explains their tools of choice and how they're going to use it for me if we work together. So it's all of those things together, and also it's about. I don't think anybody should be rushed, but some DPs are a lot slower than others from from an actual standpoint, and I want to get from the DP that when the shit and fan meet, they can still make things work, because that does
get splattered.
Because that does happen, right? It's that there are cock-ups every single day. You know, that is filmmaking. On other productions that I've been around, I've seen when things go wrong, I've seen DPs have particularly struggled, and you need a DP to be super strong in those difficult moments, because it's not an if, it's when. There's always something that goes wrong and something that, you know, that is an obstacle. It's not filmmaking without those things. So choosing my DP are those three things. It's are they a decent person I can get along with? Are we creatively in sync? You know, are we talking the same language? Because sometimes there's just styles and conversations just don't work. And do they understand their tools, and can they use them when things go wrong? You know, that's kind of my process of elimination, really.
That's vital. I think you made a really good point there. You know, if a DP or any crew member has been through the trenches and made something for nothing in no amount of days, and it is stand-upable, you know that when the shit hit the fan on your project, that they will be able to deal with it. Where sometimes, and hey, not always the case, but big studio DPs, etc., big studio crew, it's a lot harder, or TV crew, it's a lot harder for them to, it's a separate thing, you know, it's all done by the book sometimes, and it is harder when like the fan meets the shit to actually go, okay, here's what we've got to do, we've got to get stuck in. And it is a really good point. Hey, there's nothing wrong with taking someone from a big studio movie for sure, but you know, you've really got to think about all these things, and I think it's a good point. Very good point. It was the same with the editor as well, because I'm obviously working with Neil Lenthal at the moment on Wolves of War and having a great time. Imagine it was the same here on Confession with you and Neil.
I thought Neil is I think he's a masterful editor, and I hope you're enjoying working with him. It's the first time on any film I've ever worked on where I've not sat in the same room as my editor even once.
Well, we lost our editor before we started shooting as well.
Oh, really?
Do you remember?
Yeah, lost my editor. That's the other thing, right, is that when I shoot about stress levels, I need to know I've got a DP I trust, and I need to know that there's an editor. I can't stand watching dailies. I like watching assembly, right? I don't want to just watch every fucking take I've done. I want to see that it's cutting together, and I need to have how I select the DPs I want to work with. I do the same with editors, and I've worked with Emma before on the Hatton Garden job, and we also had a very good creative synergy. But she knows how important it is for me to feel that my editor's there, because I know that if I've got somebody that's going to work the cameras, I've got somebody that's cutting it, whatever happens, and I've got actors, I've got a film, right? I've got a film, and I need to know it's being assembled, because for me as well, you know, for my confidence, I need to look at assembly, because then it reassures me that I do know what I'm doing. I am getting what I've intended to get.
And you had that great relationship with Neil, didn't you?
Yeah, but so with Emma, 48 hours before shooting, she went on to another project. So I was like, my heart was nearly jumping out of my chest. But yeah, Neil was recommended to me from another producer.
Yeah, because he'd worked with Johannes a little bit on 47 Meters Down as well, so he might have come through that connection a bit as well.
It's through Ben Jakes. And,
Ben Jakes, okay.
Yeah, so I spoke to Neil, and you know, he's very calm, very, you know, knows his stuff.
Yeah.
He's very fast at editing and has brilliant ideas. And he, I never once, I don't even know what he looks like. I don't even think I had a Zoom with him.
Did you not Zoom? You just did it phone?
We spoke on the phone.
He don't like Zoom.
No, I just get on the phone. I'm old fashioned. I like sending letters second class.
Second class.
You know what I mean?
Saving money. Here's my resignation letter. We didn't get it for 4 weeks, mate.
Yeah,
He's only shot 2 films.
Yeah, handwritten.
Right, just before we go, because, we could talk for ages about Confession. And hey, look, it's out now. Please go watch it. Please go support indie films. As I know a load of you do anyway, you do go watch the movies we talk about. And thank you. And if you do like it, go on IMDb, give it a great review. It makes a huge world of difference. And on iTunes and whichever platforms it's on as well. Do that. When you do watch an indie film, do go do it. Honestly, the filmmakers will be very, very grateful. And we all do it to each other if we like the films. So if you could, Dave Beton, give us some... even though you've given us loads of advice, to someone who is trying to make their first film, or they're directing a film in 12 days, or they've got to write something in a short period of time or a long period. Just a bit of advice.
I think the best piece of advice I can give is to write and work on projects that you wholeheartedly believe in and want to make. But always keep one eye on the business whilst you do that. Think commercially minded. But above and beyond that, I think what's super key more than anything, and I think you guys, the King Arthur lot, as I call you, that have made many films together, is that you've surrounded yourself with like-minded and determined people. And I think my advice to anybody, and I've done exactly the same with James Harris and the T-Shop guys, is that if you can build a collaborative of people that are like-minded and determined, and you are not scared of rolling your sleeves up and crossing over your job roles, because that happens, and just getting something made, whatever that may be, a short, a feature. We all have, I mean, look at the iPhone 13 Pro now. Look at what you can shoot things on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would just say now is the time with the digital tools that we have. Get things made, at whatever level. Because if you do that, you've got something to show. It gets you more stuff, and you can't do it alone. You have to be around like-minded people. As Lucinda, has achieved as a producer, she's built a business of making lots and lots of movies with relationships with many different crew members, and. I've done the same, and I work with the T-Shop, Ben and Lucinda. I'm very selective with who I work with, because there's a lot of people out there that you can't trust in our business, and I think you need to surround yourself with like-minded people and just keep going. You've got to be in the mindset of, it's not about getting a yes, it's about making sure you give people a reason to not say no, if that makes sense. And that's what we've done with Confession, because people were liking it, but they were like, you might need a bigger cast member. We just said, well, look, we packaged it so well that how can you say no to this? And they can't, and that's just what you got to do. It's determination. If you're not a writer, befriend a writer. If you're not a director, befriend a director. If you're a writer-director, befriend a producer. Like-minded people. Watch movies. Network. Constantly network. And just, good luck. It's not an easy business, but it's a business that once you're in, which I think you can all attest to, even if you wanted to leave, because I think we've all had moments where that's it, I'm done. I mean, I quit
straight
probably,
after Confession.
Yeah, no, I did. I quit weekly.
Your
we all do.
Now.
I mean, how many conversations have I said to you, Lucinda, that's it, I'm done with this business?
It's ridiculous. And every time you say it to me, I say, shut up. Shut up.
We all could, but the thing is, what I'm saying is, we're all there, we all do that, but we all still end up carrying on, because it's an art form, isn't it? And once you're in, as much as this business irritates the shit out of me, I also love it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just one of those things. The ultimate goal would just be to be your own studio, wouldn't it? But
Yep.
That's the dream, right? You just got to keep going.
And Andy, from you, just a short sentence about advice for directors working with DPs. Be really nice. Normally we ask you for sort of advice the other way, but actually I thought it'd be really interesting.
To repeat myself, like, know what you want, but be open to listening to other people who will have a really specific idea about one area that's all they think about. They just think about the photography, or they think about the costume or the makeup, or absorb all of that and then make a film that's better than you could make on your own, because that's the point of filmmaking. It's a collaboration.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Wow.
There you go.
Well done, Andy. That was
Well done, me. I'll clap myself.
Yeah, please do. Well, listen, Confession is out now. Link to that is in the show notes. Do go support, do go watch. We are on Instagram at the Filmmakers Podcast. You can find us there, or on Twitter at Filmmakers Pod. I am at Giles Alderson on both those things. Andrew Rodger, where can people find you?
If you buy a big bag of Satsumas and you eat most of them, in the middle of one of them, if you cut it the right way, it'll be my number. And if it's not the right one, just buy more Satsumas.
Is this like a prison number?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So that's where you can find Andy. Lucinda?
You can find me at Pick Perf Limited or at Lucinda Thakrar. It will be in the show notes.
Yes, excellent.
Send the elevator back down, whatever you want.
Thank you so much for listening. You are amazing. Hope your 2022 so far has been what you want it to be. If it hasn't, and as Dave says, do something about it. Make it happen. And if you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, as Dave has done, it is your duty to send the elevator back down. And remember, next week, we have the legend that is Ian McKellen joining us. He of X-Men fame, he of Lord of the Rings fame. So do join us for that next week. What a treat. So Andrew, thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you, Dave.
Lucinda, thank you.
Thank you.
David Beton, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. God bless all of you. It's been great. Thanks for having me.
Take care, everyone. See you next week.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Hey.
The Filmmakers Podcast is kept going by your generous support. To hear some bonus content from today's episode and future content, subscribe to our Patreon.